Death, taxes, and anomalies. These are the 3 guarantees in life. Get used to it. And with the world getting weirder by the minute, it shouldn't be a surprise that there are plenty of brand new SCPs making their way onto the wiki. Lots of the newest ones draw on years of SCP heritage too, providing intrepid readers with a plethora of fascinating new ideas. So let's get down to business with the top 5 newest SCP Monsters 2021 Part 2. Coming in at number 5, we've got SCP-5623, Spaceships. They exist! But they didn't always exist, and before folks proved they could land stuff on the moon, a lot of people were convinced that we'd be living within the bounds of Earth's atmosphere forever. Not the craziest thing humans have assumed either, especially seeing as we pretty much have everything we need right here. You know, if we figured out how to not waste everything and make sure everyone got a piece of the pie. But hey, here's the thing. If we take SCP-5623 at face value, apparently there was an extraterrestrial spacecraft sighted by the Foundation over 50 years before humans launched anything into outer space. In 1903, Foundation researchers witnessed a sphere moving about in the space outside Earth's atmosphere. After this, it wasn't seen again. Most assumed that it was pulled in by the gravity of a red dwarf star at some point, leading to its inevitable destruction. That's just the beginning though. See, with more research and better credentials, you can find that SCP-5623 is indeed a spaceship constantly heading towards dying stars. Whenever it reaches its destination, said star will immediately vanish. With a little more investigation, the Foundation discovered that this strange object is indeed piloted by some sort of extraterrestrial intelligence. It's sapient and able to communicate, but it doesn't seem to know what it is or how long it's existed for. After delivering a bunch of communication-enabling materials to this entity, the Foundation opened up a line of communication with it. The pilot of this thing is a vacuum-born, a being that spontaneously comes into existence and acts with great purpose. It's been around for eons, collecting stars as they die, ensuring that they don't permanently go out. For this reason, it's been referred to as the Star Euthanizer. Funnily enough, Foundation researchers gave the entity a name upon request, and now it goes by Glenn. Glenn has traveled the universe since his inception, collecting dying stars, and will continue to do so until the universe ends or runs out of stars. In either case, Glenn will then enact a ZK-class universe reset scenario and begin anew. It's safe to say that we won't be around when this happens, but it's sort of strange and terrifying knowing that something is out there with that capability. Although knowing that there's no malice behind Glenn's actions does provide us with a sense of comfort. He won't be resetting our universe and destroying everything we know because he hates something, it's just because he wants the stars to come back. And I suppose I would do the same as Glenn had I been brought into existence in a similar way. Coming in at number 4, we've got SCP-5607. What was it that the blue screen would say on arcade machines? Winners don't use drugs? Well, get this. We've got a whole new performance-enhancing drug discovered by the Foundation, produced by a little alien humanoid. 5607 is a tiny extraterrestrial creature that exists in a comatose state inside of a stasis tank of unknown origin. It lives kind of like a plant, subsisting on water, UV radiation, and carbon dioxide. After researchers removed it from the vessel in which it was found, the vessel self-destructed, resulting in the inability to complete further research. Weird, right? Well, it gets weirder. The alien creature itself isn't really the main attraction. Its urine is. That's right. This little planty person produces performance-enhancing pee. In fact, the urine is so good at enhancing performance that the Foundation began conducting tests on it and found that it causes a substantial increase in mental and physical dexterity in all those who inhale the vapors. So they took this stuff and engineered a device by which to vaporize and distribute it, and you're not gonna believe what it's called. It's the Personal Inhalant Service Stimulant, for short. A little on the nose, don't you think? Well, moving on from that interesting choice of nomenclature, the urine from SCP-5607 went on to be used by an MTF under the guise of training and testing operations. But the members of the MTF got hooked on the stuff. They saw great increases in their efficiency and effectiveness, but also found it hard to stop using the stuff. After adding mixed berry flavors to mask the acrid aromas, the MTF began overusing the PISS. And when the trial ended, they got violent. People were shot and killed in desperate attempts to acquire more of the stuff. In fact, things got so out of hand in the name of that the entire site where it was happening had to be burned to the ground to prevent further outbreak. So remember, kids, if you ever find a tiny alien man who produces performance-enhancing addictive urine, stay away. Coming in at number 3, we've got SCP-5881. The monsters we make for ourselves. I think this is a nice SCP to read when you're feeling overwhelmed by your own expectations. See, like all anomalies, 5881 is written right into the SCP universe and actually exists somewhere inside that imagined world. It's not just a metaphor or a representation of something, but it can also be taken as a metaphor for something else. See if you can figure out what. 5881 is a 26-year-old male named Ben. Ben subconsciously manifests 3 incorporeal humanoid creatures, each with a different set of personality traits. One appears to be a successful businessman, another is a high-ranking military officer, and the third is a professor at Cambridge University. Whenever one of these beings manifests, they work Ben to the bone. They have high expectations for him and berate him when he doesn't meet them. The businessman is constantly giving Ben lessons, expecting him to be extremely smart with his money, and pushes him to spend his free time exclusively on entrepreneurship. The Major wants Ben working out all the time and pushes him to exhaustion over and over and over. The Professor expects Ben to be reading the classics, learning new theories, and finding all sorts of time for additional scholarship. Each being wants Ben to excel in whatever he's doing, but provides him with no time to work on what the others are presenting. This has led Ben to just about losing his mind. Other people can see these incorporeal beings from time to time, but they're only concerned with talking to and lecturing Ben, poor guy. Because of the differing and widely varietous expectations of each manifestation, he can never really accomplish anything. And this lack of achievement encourages the manifestations to talk down to him and force him to work even more. He can't take a break, watch a show, or have a drink without one of the manifestations jumping down his throat, which led to truly nothing getting done. However, once contained by the Foundation, Ben found his ability to do work and achieve some sort of productivity went up. Less external expectations and the ability to function will go up. He argued with the manifestation still, but managed to find time to do what was needed, and it's sort of funny how that works. Think on what this is a metaphor for, and then don't let your manifested monsters run you ragged. Sweet. Coming in at number 2, we've got SCP-5965. Hayden Morris fell off a cliff and died. Hot start, right? Well, now Hayden Morris constantly falls right in front of past acquaintances. Like, if someone is indoors, Hayden will fall from their ceiling, go splat right in front of them, screaming the whole way. Outdoors, Hayden instances can fall from all sorts of heights. Then there's a Hayden Morris corpse that has to be dealt with. SCP-5965 has caused a lot of trauma and distress in the lives of those it affects. One acquaintance believed that he had somehow gotten too drunk, exhumed her body, and brought it back to his apartment. Her mother saw Hayden fall into the freezer at the grocery store and believed it to be a hallucination. Possibly worst of all, a Hayden manifestation dropped in the middle of a preschool class she used to work with. All affected parties have been amnesticized, but holy smokes. They're not just dealing with the death of Hayden once, they're literally watching it happen right again in front of them. The bodies are indeed real, but Hayden's original corpse remains inside her coffin. Strange. And finally, at number 1, we've got SCP-5647. This SCP has a current death toll of almost 5 billion, and it's rising. It has wiped out the O5 Council and is impossible to combat. What on earth could be causing all this chaos? Ready? The linear passage of time. The linear progression is caused by observation, and at this point is unavoidable. It will come for us all, and it will end us all. What can we do about it? Well, not all that much. Foundation researchers have done their best to figure something out, but procedures meant to alter and cease the effects of 5647 have been stopped by the Ethics Council. I suppose stopping time in order to prevent the effects of time doesn't really do all that much in helping anyone existing within the bounds of time. Boy, a lot to think about there. Time as a monster. It's possible we are thinking too hard about this one. Oh, how monstrous. Lots and lots of unexplainable and undeniably fascinating things on today's list, eh? So what did you think? Have you already read these wiki entries? Are there any new SCPs you think we should talk about? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more bodacious ones from the top 5 newest SCP Monsters 2021, Part 1. DMB Land says, I'll be back in 3 years and tell you. I can't wait. I wonder what life will be like in 3 years. Kelvin Martinez says, SCP is getting more and more interesting. You know it. The structure allows for all sorts of new ideas without having to explicitly rely on the older ones to hold it all up. Terry Kids Mep says, this year I'm going to make an SCP without even seeing this video. I believe in you, make an anomaly, but also watch our video. The Walmart Softable says, spam, the mystery meat. It's perfect for the SCP Foundation, don't you think? And Demon Heart 13 says, I would wish for the KFC secret recipe. And you'd probably end up with a Popeye's biscuit recipe scribbled on a greasy napkin. And that's the time we have for today. I'm going to dig straight down, no breaks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. For this, which truly, he argued that the manifestations still, think on what this is a metaphor of. Her mother saw Hayden fall into a freezer at the grocery store, believed it to be her mother saw Hayden fall into the, I don't know why that one happened the way it did. Here we are.